we're with Brian from Death Before Dishonor, and to discuss some questions related to Bulgarian hardcore and hardcore in general. So Brian here has been on tour with his band Death Before Dishonor for how long now?
You want me to hold it? Almost 3 weeks now. We started February 3rd in mainland with Slapshot, Risk, and American War Machine, and then we've been in the Balkans since Sunday, and we have 2 more shows left tonight and tomorrow.
Okay. So Brian, how did you came up with the idea and behind the name of Dead Before Dishonor?
So years ago when we started the band, we needed a band name, and I was not sure what to do, and I was going to tattoo Death Before Dishonor on me just for the motto, and I was like, we'll just use it for a band name. So that's kind of how it came. It was impromptu. There's no crazy meaning behind it. I never ended up getting it tattooed anyways, but that was that's how it came about.
Interesting. So Brian, what influences you have as a musician?
I wouldn't even call myself a musician. I just run around and scream. But, bands like Agnostic Front, Madball, for sure, Biohazard, Sick of It all those types of bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what got me into hardcore. Especially Agnostic Front was one of my favorite bands. So when I got into hardcore, and then our first tour in Europe was actually with Agnostic Front. So I really look up to that band a lot.
It's you could say that they're very near and dear to your heart.
Oh yeah, for sure,
yeah.
100%.
It's a great band.
One of my favorites.
Well, how hard was at the beginning, beginning the band, organizing logistics and stuff, and organization for people in general? How hard was it, and how
hard was it?
Yeah.
When we first started, it was 2000, 2001. And back then, there wasn't a lot of internet, so it was a lot harder. You had to send out tapes to promoters or clubs to try to get on shows. It was a lot more DIY, and not that we're a little bigger now, but we still operate DIY. But when we first started, it was a little tough, and we just used to do a lot of weekend shows. Just play wherever we can. Anytime we got an opportunity, try to take it and just make the best out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How does the musical process of writing? How does the writing process for writing music? Yeah. In general, how does the process of writing music goes for you?
So how's the writing process work for us?
Yeah.
So it all really depends. Back in the day, Frankie, my original bass player / guitar player, he wrote a lot of the music. He's still in the band, but he doesn't tour anymore. Now, it really depends. Someone will come up with a part of a song, a riff. And when we get in the studio, we just kind of work off each other and try to build a song. You know what I mean? Whether it's oh, I have this idea, oh, I have this idea. And then, you kind of put it together and then be all right, that's cool. And then maybe revisit it and try to change some stuff up and try to make it the best. And then lyrically, it's really it really depends. It's sometimes something will just be there just based on everyday life stuff. And then other times we'll have songs done. You have to write the lyrics to the song, get it done to record. So it's kind of an open-ended process. We all work together and try to make the best songs.
What are the main artists that inspired Death Before Dishonor and in general you to start making music?
Like I said before, I think personally for me, I'll go back to Agnostic Front. There was also a local band. They never got big, but they were called Brawl Park. And I used to go to their rehearsal, and I wasn't in a band yet. And I was oh, anybody can start a band. So that band helped inspire me to be oh, I sang a song with them, and I was oh. And then I met other people from the rehearsal places, and then started a band. So that band Brawl Park was very influential because I didn't know how to start a band.
Do you have any non-hardcore artists that influenced you on making music?
Any what?
Non-hardcore, non-metal.
Non-hardcore.
Heavy
Oh.
music in general.
I like Bruce Springsteen a lot, lyrically.
Who?
Bruce Springsteen.
Can you elaborate further?
Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA, he sings. He's a big rock artist from the States. He has a lot of cool lyrics. I also like a lot of hip hop too. So like Nas and like Wu-Tang's cool.
Classics.
Yeah, and I think some of their lyrics, in a way, it's not the same, but like very street level stuff can influence the same way.
Have you listened to any Bulgarian hardcore bands?
Last Hope. We did a tour at Last Hope, 2014. We did all of Europe. They're one of my favorite bands, so I'll say Last Hope.
How would you compare the Bulgarian scene in terms of sound, creativity, and activity to the international hardcore scene?
I'm sorry, how would I compare the Bulgarian hardcore scene? I've been in Bulgaria this is my third time. Every time we play it's fucking crazy. So, I mean, it's my first time in this city, but I've been to Sofia 3 times. I remember the very first time I played Sofia in 2008 with Ignite, and the show was one of the craziest shows I've ever played. But I think people here appreciate the music a lot. From what I know from so the singer of Last Hope's a good friend of mine, all the guys in the band, but it seems like there's a very good hardcore scene in Bulgaria.
That's interesting. As we all know, there was a pandemic which impacted a lot of artists, and it wasn't that ago. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
So how did the pandemic impacted you while making music, while being able to rehearse in general?
So, I mean, obviously the pandemic fucked everything up for everybody. At this point, we don't only tour, right? When we go home from tour, we work a job and stuff like that. So it's not like we're touring all the time, even though we tour a lot. So, yeah, the pandemic put everybody back. Because we had put out a record in July 2019, Unfinished Business, and then the pandemic happened the beginning of March the year after. So we couldn't really tour after that. So that kind of screwed us up. But, in between that time, we started writing some stuff, and then as soon as we had the opportunity to play shows again, we've been out touring, so.
You work a everyday job, right? What is it?
Yeah, so, I mean, when I'm home, I work, I set up and clean fish tanks, aquariums. So I can kind of make my own schedule. And the guy I work for knows I'm in a band, so I'm able to leave, come back. But yeah, when we go home, we work. And then when we leave for tour, we leave for tour.
What advice would you give to some young hardcore musicians that just get into making music and would, try to do the same thing as you, both work or both work, in some cases study and make music and have a band? What advice could you give them?
I would say it's very hard to manage both, but if you're starting out a band and you love what you do, just do as much as you can and try to enjoy it while you can, right? Balancing things are very difficult. Back in the day, we used to just tour all the time. But yeah, just stay passionate, take opportunities, and just, it's really just managing it.
Would you say that hardcore influences more than your music? I have seen hip-hop artists, modern hip-hop artists, Suicide Boys, touring with Not Loose. Would you say this is a good thing for hardcore to have other genres mixed into it? Would in your opinion, greater exposure to hardcore will ruin the culture?
I think, so it's an interesting question. So I think, yes, if you mix genres, more exposure for sure, right? More people. It's tough with hardcore music because it's very underground and a lot of moshing, stage diving, sing-along. So I don't know how that works when you cross over with hip-hop or different genres, but it does work sometimes with metal and punk and stuff like that. It's tough to say, like I said. I respect people trying to play in front of more people, but I think sometimes when you mix genres, you might get fights or something because people will be moshing and be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So I'm like 50-50 on it. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't know if it's a great idea. But sometimes it works, so I don't know.
There are many examples of this, like artists like Puya or
Yep.
I think either A$AP Rocky or I don't remember it. Like Travis Scott, yeah, they were mosh pits, but they're not like that intense.
Yeah.
So, recordings. What is your favorite part of the whole recording process or in making music in general?
I hate recording. I hate it all. I like hearing the songs come together in the studio, like, you know, like when it's almost finished and you're like, oh, you know, because in the recording process first it's the drums, but when you hear the mixed product and it's finished, I think that's cool. But me personally, I'm not like a musician, I just scream. So I'm like, let's get it done. So I can't say I love the recording process, but I like when it's all over.
Okay, and that concludes this interview. Thank you.